last few days of the LCK. It does seem to switch around a lot when it comes to which side is powerful. The blue side at the moment has been very good because you get more of that flexibility. In the ban phase, Tahm Kench going to be taken away first here by KT. Interesting, wanting to open up that bottom lane with a few different options here, as Armada probably just doesn't want to play the Tahm Kench. He's sick of babysitting.
On the red side, Jin will have pretty few options when it comes to the pretty normal bans against KT. We see Yasuo banned against them a lot on the blue side. Much more tricky to do on the red side because you have to ban away Talia. Give up Xayah Rakan, not going to feel great about that either, so a lot of power picks for KT on blue side, and we'll see what Jin do diagnose as the right bans. The first two are kind of automatic bans, as Aatrox and Talia power level still too high.
Aatrox, Talia, Rakan would be my assumption on the side of Jin. Giving Rakan over to Mata is a pretty difficult one to handle, given the fact that their Xayah Rakan has been pretty incredibly strong on the side of KT recently.
Given that both Grace and also Yukal have pretty high Yasuo priority, I hope KT don't fall into the pitfall of first picking it. First pick Yasuo, one of the reasons that we saw Misfits finally fall down in the EU LCS, because there's just so many different comps could really target the Yasuo, even if you have Gragas, or a good enabler to set up that last breath. Jin final ban here. The Rakan, like you mentioned, would be the obvious one.
Could go for the LeBlanc or something like that if they would want to, but it's not Pawn this time around, and the Shen is going to be banned away. Jin first picked it in game one. Certainly worked out for Nova on the bottom side of the map.
I was definitely thinking Rakan ban first pick Shen, but the Shen ban would potentially mean first pick Rakan. We do see it coming out of Mata.
Yep, makes a lot of sense, and this is going to enable that bottom lane to have all of that scaling power as well that Deft and Mata have wanted. So Jin will see whether they are priced into picking away the Xayah, but when you do fall into that trap, it becomes very dangerous, as they're going to do it. We'll see whether Teddy can make it work without the Lovers. We've got Starcross Lovers this game, but feels like KT got the better one, as Rakan's engage works with absolutely everyone.
But what do KT want to play in the jungle role? Well, we see the reverse matchup here by Skork. He is a noted Kindred player as well. You could definitely understand the logic behind it. Sejuani, or something a bit more standard, could be opted into as well. The Gragas would be Old Faithful for Score. Would be a lot of wombo engage here with the grand entrance and quickness available, and it will be the Gragas. Probably for the jungle here for KT Rolster.
Graggy going to be locked in, means that the Yasuo composition is looking pretty daunting, but like you say, it's pretty dangerous. Locking in an early Yasuo. Yukal can do it for himself right now if he wants to.
With the Gragas, a lot of Yasuo players feel they can get away with it. We've seen Jin in a similar scenario. Blue side draft Gragas and Yasuo in this round. Instead, they're going to go for the Tristana, which has been a favorite of Deft recently. 1-0 on that pick. Can potentially take standing trades against the Xayah. Used to see Tristana versus Kalista many, many times. Jin probably surprised the Orianna is still available going into the second round, and you have to think they'll pair this with a Yasuo ban in the second round as well.
Yeah, they'll certainly have to do that. The Zoe already taken away, but not necessarily the greatest ban here, as that Yasuo ban's feeling a whole lot better. Now into Yukal, who showed that hard carry performance, 1v4 team fighting, basically in the later stages of the game. Going to deny that immediately is now KT. We'll see whether they focus towards topside, or whether it's going to be a different approach. They could really attack the support pool here if they want to.
That would leave open Nara, GP, Jace, and all of the top laners. They don't want to have the GP piloted by So1. And ban that one away. Feels like top lane bans what KT is going to do to thin out the pool a little bit. Jin Greenwing, second ban here. Could be another coverage ban for Orianna. The Azir would be a pretty typical one, and one that Yukal loves to go to.
Yukal, in fact, blind picking the Azir, but that was to his detriment. It is going to be banned away, so not going to be able to head back to it.
I think you feel pretty good if Yukal jumps on a Corki or something like that, and seeming increasingly likely that he'll be considering that into the Orianna.
I'd like it. Gives him a lot of mixed damage availability as well, and can allow Smeb to go basically full tank if he feels like it. A Cho'Gath pretty comfortable pick towards the top side of Jin are going to leave. Last pick available to So1, and the top lane focus is going to continue with Camille being taken away by KT on the blue side. Now, what does Teddy pick up here for Jin? Support pool open. A lot of options here available for Jin Green Wings.
Cannon vs Snar does seem to be the likely top lane matchup with what's been banned. But focusing on Jin Air, looking for a ball carrier, and Alistair is about as reliable as you can find from the support role. So Saya Alistair versus the Rakan and also the Tristana. We have seen mid lane Wukong played over in the EULCS in that game I mentioned where it was a first pick on the Yasuo and answering Wukong. Wukong nerfed in this patch, so you'd imagine it's even more risky than before.
Yep. Wukong was really sneaking up in power level. The guy was relatively easy to play, so once you got Wukong a little bit too strong, it became a little bit terrifying. Not going to be picked up, and Kennen's going to be locked in here for Smeb. Now, what is UCal going to play? Are they going to put Kennen in the mid lane? Who knows what's going on here as Marta considers their last pick. They're going to run it back. We're going to have that matchup once again, and UCal going to see what happens when he picks up the Ryze instead of Pawn this game.
Interesting that they're going to go for the same matchup again, and it's going to give another priority lane to Jin Air if they decide to go the way of the Jace. So Kennen win that matchup from Tal, but it's a tricky matchup. Mousing over the Quinn here. We've had one Quinn, but are expecting the likely one at first was the Jace, but they're going to go for the Vladimir top instead. Old matchup that has been Vladimir favored because of his sustain advantage. Here we go. Jin Air do end up getting the Orianna into the Ryze, the Vladimir into the Kennen. Seems like Jin Air come away with a strong draft once again.
Yeah, Jin Air with the lanes looking very, very good. Bottom lane might be an opportunity for KT to be able to get an advantage in the earlier stages of the game. And once again, KT have set themselves up with some pretty fantastic engage options. However, this is a Jin Air Green Wings composition that scales pretty beautifully moving into the late game, plays front to back very, very well. Their tank line is stronger. It's red side draft once again. This has been good from Jin Air. It was blue side last time. They were still able to navigate some pretty beautiful lanes, but now KT with UCal in the mid lane, will that be what makes the difference for KT fans and brings us to game 3?
I think a lot of the spoilers on how KT...
Okay, here we go. KT versus Jin Air game number 2. Will we have a repeat performance of game number 1 where everything was just a little bit crazy? So far, everything is quiet on Summoner's Rift. Not going to have any early invades, much like we saw from KT on our red side in game number 1.
KT shooting for a oppressive 1-3-1 comp with the on-hit cannon and also Ryze in a side lane. Problem is, both solo lanes look pretty good for the side of Jin Air Green Wings. See a Ghost Porro, quite defensively placed, but can be replaced at any moment in other brushes as you mouse over them. Only has a cooldown when you actually have it cleared by the enemy. So any enemy stepping into it will clear it. If you get on the enemy side, the jungle, thanks to the 814 changes, extra adaptive AD or AP, depending on who you are.
Depending on which stats you've got.
Yep.
As well, as KT will be leashing for score on the bottom side of the map. Everything absolutely fine. Nothing to see here as UCal are going to go for the same build as Pawn did. We saw Dongun and Bitdol going over exactly why the Ryze was having a better time in the laning phase than we otherwise would have expected. That was a lot to do with that Dark Seal boosting the healing availability and allowing you to stay in there and harass out the Orianna.
Healing advantage. The spoilers of what they were talking about, things like the Time Tonic Potion and also the Corrupting Potion, Dark Seal. Might have had the Biscuit Delivery, didn't actually see in game number 1. Makes sense. Score is going to find the Ghost Porro, but it's spotted out on what was a level 2 gank on the top side. Good value out of that one from the side of Jin Air.
Good timing from KT though, just to make sure that Sohan was still level 1. Not going to be able to pull anything as the ward very defensively placed from Sohan behind his turret. As Nova's going to go aggressive. Teddy pushing this wave further forward. As KT just going to sit under the turret, happily farm things away.
To use the information to steal away the Raptor camp. Can also play bot side here if he wants to.
Can get a very aggressive rotation over. Probably guarantees that he hasn't been spotted by the enemy, but he's going to be pinged out as Marta's going to face check him. His spidey senses were tingling. Grand entrance gets him to safety. Nova, he was moving his way over as well, but Umpty, a couple of camps. What he's going to steal away for this one. Certainly great news for him, and he's got his whole bottom side jungle to move back to. That score is nowhere near afterwards.
I don't believe Score took any camps because he was spotted top side by the Vladimir, and we've seen 2 camps. Started up and ruined a bit by Omti on the bot side, so good use of the information from the Ghost Poro. Gragas making a rotation over now to contest the Raptors, should be able to get them. I want to draw your attention to the fact that maybe for the first time this season, ever since we saw Prey bring out the Teleport Ezreal at MSI, we're having Heal Ignite versus Heal Ignite for the AD carry and support duo. So AD carry and support already was something we were seeing infrequently, and them taking no teleports among the 4. Bit of honest laning fun between Deft and Marta and Teddy and Nova.
We're back to a regular AD carry laning phase, but there's the flash body slam immediately. Grace is going to press both of his summoner spells and get the hell out of there, but that is a great gank from Score to start things off, despite using the flash.
And that's what Ryze provides in the mid lane, that instant cast CC can be so easy to follow up on. Trade of summoners means that Grace now has neither. Umti chilling in a brush. He is in a ward.
He is, and there's a rocket jump, there's a grand entrance, there's a battle dance, there's everything for KT to get themselves to safety if they need to.
And interrupt with the Trundle Pillar, that's why Umti looks for it.
Well, Marta's going to say no to that, and Umti's going to take a bit of a chunk of damage there. Gleaming Quill, thankfully, for Jin Air fans, not going to register. But Teddy having a pretty comfortable laning phase here at the moment. 33 to 29 is the CS numbers. Is the Tristana going to move back down? Of course, as things go along, the draw bead is going to be pretty good at keeping Deft safely farming towards the back of the minion wave, and he will be able to clean things out very, very quickly as well. So getting lane priority for KT will be an opportunity. And this plays around what KT are very good at, which is taking early turrets. Tristana can do anything. Let's use her explosive charge to take down turrets extremely fast.
And again, this game, if it goes KT's way, is going to be very non-interactive with how it plays out, because they want Wit's End on the cannon, start just building for the 1v1, and they just want to take it in the side lane. They have very strong 1-3-1, and Tristana with enough levels, we know exactly about how her range will go, and the 3-man siege of Gragas, Rakan, and Tristana will be very safe and be able to take down turrets. That's how KT want to play this game. Jin Air, they have Orianna Vladimir, so you know exactly what they want to do. Very much going to be about the team fights, so KT never got a real start in game number 1, were too far behind and could never really play 1-3-1 short of Horn trying to just extend the game with some pushes down the side waves. This time, trying to find some advantages through the lanes, so far to the tune of the summoner spells on Grace.
Yeah, certainly a good news story because Grace basically did whatever he wanted at the beginning of game number 1. Yukal going to be able to get himself another room prison, but misses the Q. Probably needs that if he wants to do any meaningful damage, but Grace is feeling the pressure there in the mid lane. Wishes he would have been able to buy a tier very early on, as Smeb is getting pressured out of this lane, but pays good respect to Umti and so on, who are moving their way up, and doesn't actually miss out on too much, as the cannon creep is going to tank up the turret for the longest time. Score moving on over now, as there are so many pings. Marta, he'd roamed up from the bottom lane.
Ryze has first rotation at this moment as well. And using his dematerializers that we did see Yukal pick up. Pawn dropped them, but Yukal has them, and they come online a little bit later, but do help the Ryze with his pushing ability, which was nerfed over the patches on this Ryze. So much more mid lane Ryze recently, so clearly been working in scrims.
Seen it 3 of our 4 games so far.
BDD's played it. Now we're seeing Yukal and Pawn play it. A lot of people returning to this Ryze.
Yep, Lava playing it earlier on. 3 out of our 3 games, I believe. Sorry, 2 out of our 3 games so far. Jin Air just going to try and hold on to this one last caster creep just to keep the minion wave on their side of the map, just to give themselves some safety underneath their turret. A lot of respect given to Deft and Marta, fantastic laning duo that we talk about all the time.
See the reason why?
Smeb back top.
See the reason why they're trying to cause it to be on their side of the map. There's a control ward bot side. Ryze is roaming and has the realm ward bot side. So anything to put them out of threat range is encouraged by Jin Air. Nova going to meet Score.
Well, there's the body slam as well. Remember, Score doesn't have the flash. Control ward should be cleared here as Yukal gets rid of the blast cone as well. And not a lot of information given over to Jin Air right now, as Deft was playing very aggressively and Teddy punishes him on the bottom side.
Dream about this game is first turret. First turret for KT is the big thing on the checklist. It's double underlined. It's how KT win this game and start their side wave pushing. See what the build is from Deft. Stormrazor could definitely be the first item here on the Tristana.
Would make a lot of sense, especially now that we've moved to 8.14. Last time, first time we saw the Tristana this season, I believe, was Pilot. in our weird and wonderful triple smite game where he went completely ballistic with a Blood Razor. Not going to happen this time as Teddy let that explosive charge even out the trade in favor of Deft, but doesn't have a lot of mana now, and Buster Shot on cooldown means that Umti has a bit of a free pass to get himself in there.
With the Storm Razor, and it's not Storm, it's Storm Razor, and also the Press the Attack could definitely be a bit of burst for Deft in the early game. Already has the rapid fire cannon plus some attack speed, so some aggressive burst trades, which is usually Zaya's forte compared to the Tristana.
Yep. The fact that Tristana has rapid fire and can potentially build a rapid fire cannon is going to be a lot of rapid firing happening, especially considering the fact that that was buffed. So, okay, once again, the Ghost Power is going to get a little bit of information as Smeb makes his way back to lane.
I appreciate that we have the vision radius, because a lot of people who haven't played the Ghost Power aren't going to be aware of the vision radius it provides on patch 8.14.
Yeah.
So we did spot Smeb rolling through the river.
I'm not used to it yet either, Papa, because it's been not really a very common ward. Zombie ward being pretty popular.
Well, the nerf to Zombie Ward to no longer spawn off friendly wards was a pretty significant nerf because it made the duration of your wards longer, and while you still get wards for clearing enemy wards, the double benefit on whatever was happening was the big draw. Wits End helping out this matchup. Again, AP Cannon versus Vladimir. The Vladimir wins pretty handily because you can't all in him through the pool, and he out-sustains you with the Wits End. Still going to be some all-in options for So1 on this Electrocute Vladimir. In the side wave, it's going to be definitely a lot happier with the Wits End Rush.
Well, Mata was trying to hold the minion wave. Nova denies it, and also that back is going to go through as Mata now chasing after the cow. He's going to be able to go back under his turret. It's just a message that's going to be sent by the Rakan. Empty coming in here wants to try and find Smeb's flash. I don't think he'll be able to get it here as the Slicing Maelstrom is going to be his cooldown of choice. Just wanders his way underneath this turret as Umti doesn't want another Mark of the Storm, otherwise he'll get stunned. Smeb holds onto the flash.
Smeb always been one of the best top laners to both have good top lane sense and also hold on to those summoners. Parts well, uses the ultimate. It's only a on-hit cannon using the ult. Score challenging Umti.
Yep. Explosive cast going to come in, but Umti going to respect it. Uses the flash to get on the correct side to save his own life. KT will take a flash for nothing.
I feel like we're starting to understand this Rise priority. Even though the Ori matchup is good, theory is that you can walk up, take good trades because you have so much damn sustain with the Corrupting Potion, the Dark Seal, and the Time Warp Tonic. And then early game, before there's real oomph behind the Dissonance plays, you can rotate and get the picks on the enemy jungler. So it might actually empower them to play aggressive and get the first turret that we already know they're looking for, or to get the Rift Herald. There's the topside objective. Seems like topside control into Rift Herald is the big objective for now. To get them that first turret that we already mentioned is core to the KT gameplay.
And I think also having some push priority on the bottom side of the map was going to be core for KT's game plan as well. And while they have got a bit more damage done to the turret than on the side of Jin Air, everything is absolutely even. Even the items are identical for our two 80 carries. Mata has been spending a lot of time out of the lane as well, so kudos to Deft for staying in there, but hasn't been able to overextend in that lane. Definitely not safely, as So1. He's going to get body slammed here, booped as well, as Smeb making his way over. Emo Plague comes out, and that's going to be a lot more power now to the cannon. Umti and Nova are going to move their way in. Nova does have the Moby boot, so he's going to be very strong. Rocket jump, not going to get interrupted as Deft held on until the pillar came out. Does have to use the flash in the end, though, respecting the headbutt pole.
Get out without having to use too much in the bot side, and now Smeb wants to all in. He has Executioner's Calling, Wits End, and Rise is on the way.
Yep, Realm Warp is going to come in. Just going to jump into this Krug camp as So1 finds himself between two turrets. A rock and a hard place. That body slam was god tier, timed by Score, and that's going to mean first blood. Goes over to Yukal. On game one, he was given the first blood. This time, it's given to Yukal on a silver platter. KT Rolster, first blood turret as well on the top side.
And they say, here's one we prepared earlier. There was damage they got in earlier in this game. And even the bot lane turret going down is not a disaster for KT because they wanted 1-3-1 to begin with. When it came to lane assignments, they could roll through the mid lane. Deft on the Tristana may not have the longest range at level 9 compared to before, but will be very safe regardless. KT game plan starting to come together. We're starting to understand what they're doing, although Mata.
Oh, casually strolls out of that one as, oh no, Nova didn't have the vision, doesn't get the headbutt, and just pulls nothing.
Should have been a kill there. He had Ignite to further secure that one, but not going to happen there. Whoopsie moment from Nova could be crucial because getting the kill there and putting down deep vision and controlling an area of the jungle might be one of the things to stop there being some side wave action on the side of KT.
Yeah, bit of a problematic situation for Jin Air. However, things still okay. Not a massive gold lead or anything like that. 1.4 is going to be the lead for KT Rolster, but last time around it was Jin Air already with a lot of momentum. Moving into the mid-game, this time around, Umpty's been basically a non-factor on the Trundle. Trundle almost feeling like a trap pick this game.
Against a draft like this, a very high-tempo 1-3-1 draft, Trundle's situational with his ganks, and it is hurting them. Vladimir Trundle, no synergy. Orianna Trundle, until the Orianna ult does massive damage, pretty little synergy as well, Atlas. So
yeah.
We are seeing the Trundle be a bit of a passenger, and KT, we already mentioned, want to play a very bloodless game. So far, they haven't got a huge lead. The game plan does suit them at this point in the game.
And Teddy's going to be able to get himself a shot. I'm pretty sure he's very close to that Stormrazor, but going to cancel the back. Deft also going to go in, but he's going to go with his turret crushing build. He's got a Zeal now, as well as that BF sword.
Rapid fire cannon rush going to come through, and like you say, all about destroying turrets.
Has been the Deft way in a lot of the winning games for KT Rolster, so I like the fact that they've gone back to a familiar game plan. UCal going to get delivered this blue buff Deft underneath the turret, happily farming. Tristana making her way to a late game has been something we've been talking about since the inception of League of Legends. It'll be pretty obvious that KT are very happy getting behind Deft in the late game, and having a lot of consistent damage from UCal as well as the rapid fire mage. Gotta stop saying rapid fire, there's too many of them in this game.
It's gonna be a Rift Herald freebie for KT Rolster, no map control for Trundle. He's been playing bot side trying to find something, and he should find a Cloud Drake, but there's been no interest from KT in that objective. At 15 minutes, it will be the first Drake of the game.
Not a lot of dragons gonna happen
for it.
A bit of damage onto Nova here, but wants to stay out of headbutt range. Grace is going to come in. Command Protect keeps Umpty alive. Everything's A-OK. This is another slowly but surely for Teddy and Grace, which is always something that's frightening. If you've ever seen Jin Air play, both play brilliantly as carries in the later stages, and they both have champions that can certainly do so.
And the team fights definitely have some light at the end of the tunnel. When it comes to Jin Air, they will have Vladimir, Orianna, Xayah, strong team fighter as well. Only one frontliner for KT, so easy person to use the Trundle ult on. But we already said KT doesn't want to play side lanes. They doesn't want to play team fights. They want to play side lanes. They want to make it a very long map and then realm warp into the Baron. Taking turrets the easiest way to do so. And that means that maybe Teddy, Grace, and so on's item timings won't be that relevant when it comes to the prophesized 5v5.
And also, if Deft gets too huge and can just chunk Teddy out of a fight that quickly, like we just saw in the mid lane, that could be the problem. Now, Shelly, she's going to turn up to claim the last remaining outer turret. Some pretty textbook play coming in from KT. It's exactly what you want to see, because textbook play isn't something that often happens with this squad. As Shelly's going to charge forward, should be able to get rid of this turret. Explosive charge there as well as Smeb. Just going to play on the wing to deny anyone helping that turret's take.
Really clean by KT so far. Really like what we've seen in the first 16 minutes. Again, this is most likely the game plan they were looking for in game number 1, but just gave too much laning power to Jin Air. 3 turrets were down for Jin Air at 20 minutes, and then from there, it was just a lot of, peanut gallery and jokes about how the game played out.
Yeah.
They didn't have any real way to get back into that game. Here we go in game number 2, and their game plan has much more come together. Smeb pushes up. He's contesting Wolves at 17 minutes. That's a pretty cool story. The Vladimir knows that when it comes to laning builds, he can't take trades. It's Proto Belt, which is good for engage in a team fight against just completely building for lane on the side of Smeb.
It's on hit cannon. That's exactly what he wants to do. Sohan is going to win that trade for the moment, but is going to be Smeb clearing out a control ward. More vision denied on the side of Jin Air Green Wings, and the Vladimir completely held down on the bottom side of the map for the moment. Now, what is KT's next move? They've taken the easy objectives, much like Jin Air did in game number 1. Now, inner turrets lie before them. They've got Dragon coming up.
Man, we are waiting a long time for this kill on Rise, but UCal says no, no.
There's some Hanwha Life style tactics going on here on the top side, as Umpty What is it that's in that brush?
I'm just impressed that Yukal inferred all of this. The smart thing to do is, where is Orianna and why is she not farming? A very valid question. It turned out the jump scare top lane Fiesta was what Jin was looking for.
Deft. It's a cute little shot there as his rapid fire cannon has been completed. We're getting that charged bolt onto Nova. Yeah, certainly a lot of respect being given here as KT. They've got themselves a 4,000 gold lead and don't want to give it up this time around. Things were even in game number 1 for quite some time in the earlier stages of the game, with Jin having a slight advantage. KT wanting to push this one further forward more quickly, thus is the KT way. This early game has worked out for them very, very well, though, as they've moved forward. And I'd like to clarify that I don't think it's Pawn's fault, necessarily. I think that the draft was a little bit worse from KT in game number 1, and I think that the Rise play was pretty unlucky when it comes to that first blood. Pawn flashing at the last second and dying to the last tick of a red buff.
I mean, that was the misplay, right? The misplay was in mid lane. Him rushing down, zombie pushing. It's not necessarily Pawn is a bad player. It's this is the only way they can get back into the game.
Yeah.
If you're not laughing at that, you're just kind of sad about how KT mismanaged the rest of their game.
There's a lot of mid laners here in the LCK that would make an error like that, though. That calculation was, you know, only a few digits off.
What I want to talk about with this draft and why there's a lot to like about it, Atlas, but maybe I'll have to hold the point. Score doesn't find the body slam.
Yeah, he'll back off, so you can make the point. Score's nice.
The Vladimir has no good side lane option 1-3-1 because it's Wits and Kennen, or it's the Vladimir counter. We saw so much Rise versus Vladimir bot lane because Rise beats Vladimir in extended trades, and he's going Morellonomicon to win the 1v1 in the side lane. They can't hide So1 as the game goes on because Grace already is Orianna, who's going to be anchored to the mid lane wave clearing. So that's the genius in the draft, is that eventually So1 says, hey guys, where can I go? If it's just attempt a team fight, he doesn't have the items to blow anyone up. If it's a side lane, both Kennen and Rise are set up to beat him.
See whether they actually can, because being set up for stuff is something that KT is very good at. They were set up to beat Jin. Theoretically, they were set up to do it 2-0, and they haven't done it so far. Jin with the advantage in this series. 4,000 gold is the lead still in favor of KT Rolster, but anything can happen. Jin grabbed the first dragon of the game. Ocean going to be up in about 50 seconds, and Baron has just hit the rift about 40 seconds ago. We're well and truly into the mid-game here. Approaching late game territory as Deft is going to go Infinity Edge immediately after the rapid fire cannon. An earlier spike here than picking up the Storm Razor, as Deft is going to opt out of it, thinking that the laning phase is going to be okay with BF Sword into Zeal item. That's going to mean that his 2-item spike is actually stronger than that of Teddy's. Actually really like it.
It makes sense. Going for the Infinity Edge here is just fine. I would have understood the Storm Razor build as well, but Rapid Fire Cannon is, okay, we're going to hit our side lanes at the right time. Adjust the build if you want from the BF Sword onwards. The Rapid Fire Cannon lets you poke into the inner turret in this 1-3-1 scenario as safe as possible. Side lanes are in a really, really nice spot. So KT continue to push, and Jin say, is there a chance we end this game with less than 5 kills on both sides? It really is possible, Atlas.
Certainly is. Feeling like a war of attrition that's just being slowly won by KT, and Jin getting bled out, which is slightly ironic given the fact that the Hemomancer is on the side of Jin Green Wings. But there's just not a lot that they can do. Not a lot of options given to them, and KT are playing Supplication League of Legends in a way that didn't look was possible in game number 1. Fiesta League of Legends coming in there. This time around, very controlled.
It was still tricky from the draft because, again, the laning phases were pretty decent, but the Bitdol and Dangon Show talking about the Time Warp tonic and also some good jungling from Score minimized the time that the Rise was chunked out. Yukal didn't die compared to Pawn going down in game number 1. They got out the laning phase, and then Rise always beats Orianna in the side lane, doesn't in the short lane of mid. So that's where everything really came together for KT that didn't in game number 1. Being a bit hindsight biased, because if we remember correctly, So1 did last pick the Vladimir into what ended up being 2 winning lanes for KT, so can't get the full credit on the Rise being able to take the Vladimir in the side lane. But going Morellonomicon second, setting themselves up to win everywhere is the nice adaptive play based on that Vladimir draft that has really put them in a spot where the only farm Grace is getting is when Rise damn pleases to push it in to the top side. Feels like this game may just be decided by the time that KT turns onto a Baron.
Oh, Score now turning on to Teddy and Nova as there's the Realm Warp. That's going to deliver a rise to this fight as Featherstorm very early on in the piece is going to come in. And the Blade Caller not even going to get the snare onto Score either. So being able to pick up that cooldown from Teddy gives KT a window of time where they can really threaten vision around the Baron and potentially take it for themselves if they're feeling frisky. Marta unable to get rid of that control ward. Needs Score to be here before he face checks. Deft going to clear out vision in the mid. So clean out minions in the mid lane.
Everything about this game state suits KT. Really the only way they can realistically opt into a fight and lose is around Baron. So that's why they have to be so tricky about when they actually start the Baron. They should be about the catch. They have good catch, especially single target. And with a catch, then you start the Baron. Otherwise, it's Void Staff and Proto Belt Vladimir. It is an emergency team fighting Vladimir build because he knows there's nothing he can do against the Ken. He's not going to build the resists that can actually deal with this. Really all So1 can do is team fight. So if you don't give him a team fight, theoretically you should be growing a lead around the game.
Yeah, it's happening is Deft. He's going to jump on over. They want to try and grab Umpty, who takes a fair bit of damage. Of course, if Umpty dies, that is almost a free pass given over to KT, and they do have a fair bit of Baron damage, given the fact that Deft now has his Infinity Edge done. You've got a Seraph's Embrace, and if Smeb comes over, he's got a Blade of the Ruin King, so that's great. Body Slam comes in. Umpty, special delivery over to KT Rolster. They get the Subjugate, and that's all they really need here. Each little cooldown is good news. Teddy close to getting the Featherstorm available once again, but this could give KT some spare time with this inner turret mid.
Still the stopwatch onto Umpty, still the flash, so doesn't have to use anything too transient, but he does get out, he backs away, more map control for KT, the control wards come up more and more aggressively, waiting for that big catch for KT to get the safe Baron.
Yeah, moving further and further forward. Marta, Gleaming Quill flies over onto Umpty. Doesn't have enough items here just yet, especially not enough magic resist, as Teddy taking a few autos here from Deft. Deft wants to take down the turret. It's going to be the prize that KT want. As Smeb, he's going to once again rotate over after dealing with the minion wave. And this is exactly what this kind of pressure gives you. It gives you the inside track on all of the movements between lanes and all of the jungle of your opponent as well. You see the whole topside jungle for KT is available, and KT more than content taking away minions from the enemy jungle. Thankfully for Teddy, he's able to get rid of the popcorn chickens very quickly. It's
very difficult to talk about how frustrating this scenario must be as a pro gamer if you're Jin Green Wings, because this feels like the sort of game where you're playing solo queue and all your lanes lost as a jungler and you don't have any wards forward. Maybe your jungler, maybe your support didn't even bother to build a Sightstone. We're back in that a couple years ago meta.
Yeah.
You just don't have any vision on the map. I guess if this was the analogy, would be an AP Nidalee support from years ago, and you're just unable to see anything or do anything. That's the reality here for Jin Air. They have so little agency about what they're doing around the map. KT is making every decision, and all Jin Air can do is hope and pray for a KT mistake, because otherwise they're getting minions when KT pushed them, and then KT is kiting back into darkness that Jin Air have only limited information about.
And we've seen teams do this wrong as well. I mean, KT are actually playing this suffocation game very, very well, because what we'd be saying about a lot of other teams is they're not making enough proactive moves. They're not able to get control around this map any further, and it's Jin Air Green Wings or X team stalling out the team that has the lead in the early game. That is not the case here for KT. They're actually getting things. They're moving through the jungle. They're growing this gold lead as opposed to letting it stagnate, which is the problem.
And they're also building items to side lane harder rather than to imitate a team fight comp. Look at the Kennen build here. He's got a Frozen Mallet now. Yeah. He's still only about dunking Vladimir and stopping Vladimir from getting to a fight. That's what he should do. They did not draft this comp to 5v5. If you have a big enough gold lead in the Baron buff, anything's possible. They want picks. They desperately want them.
Yeah, Umpty's in a massive amount of trouble. Uses a stopwatch first to dodge out of the way of the cask. Very projected, has to flash in the end. But it means that it saves his life, and Jin Air hold on for a little bit longer.
So what KT is possible as a 5-man roster to put out onto the rim. It's been a great performance. They back off to Baron. They can duo it. The Rise does a lot of good Baron damage, and what can Jin Air do? Nothing.
It's not looking like they have very many choices here, Pup. You're exactly right. With no Blast Cone, no Flash, the Trundle just cannot get into smite range, so there's no threat here on to KT's Baron. We'll be able to take this one down. Nova wants to try and get in there as Grace. Oh, not going to be able to get it. And Score going to get the smite through the shockwave of Grace.
Not going to be quite that level of yakety sax to command attack Baron steal. That one's claimed by Score. Felt perilously low. KT pick up the Baron. Nice misdirection with Deft staying in the mid lane. Saw that in our first series from Humble Life as well. Now they have the Baron with Deft at level 16 with 2 Zeal items on the way. KT Rolster continue to the 1-3-1, and Jin Air say, well, we tried, but there was no way for us to contest that Baron.
Did you actually see Gray's flash? Because his flash is on cooldown, and I don't think he actually went over that wall. So, perplexing.
Oops.
Yeah, I think that's a whoopsie. It's another one of those whoopsies.
Well, these are sort of games where whoopsies come out, Atlas, because, you know, you just feel desperate. The moment that anything can happen, that could possibly be any level of positive in a game that's been won by KT for the majority of the 28 minutes. Feel desperate, things don't happen, and now KT roll down, and the Tristana comp has a Baron. It's an area you never want to be.
Absolutely not. Teddy still trying to scale up into this game, almost has his Infinity Edge if you're looking for good things to talk about on the side of Jin Air Green Wings, but 5 turrets is going to be locked down relatively soon here from KT as they push these waves ever closer to the Jin Air base. In a turret in the mid lane, the first casualty of the Baron buff. That is only going to continue as Smeb very close to inhibitor turret number 1 for KT Rolster.
What is So1 to do? There's nothing he can do in this area. It is 1 auto away from going the first inhibitor turret in bot. We'll get it on the next minion wave. Deft pushes in mid lane. I wish there was cool things to talk and laugh about like there was in game number 1, but there isn't, guys. It's a strangulation by KT Rolster.
It really is. And they're going to continue it as well here towards the top side. You can see frustration even in the way Trundle walks towards the top side inhibitor turret. Deft, explosive charge on this turret as well. That's going to go off. Smeb grabs the inhibitor. The first one is going to be taken on the bottom side of the map. Away from the Tristana, which is the odd situation, is that siege minion very close to dead. As Deft is just going to be able to love tap that turret to death in the mid lane. Top side of the map, UCal gets pillared out of the way, but that's only going to delay the inevitable. Inhibitor turrets all dead. Inhibitor number 2 to go down very, very soon. Deft free hitting. Nova slowed. Can't get in headbutt range, and that is 2 inhibitors now for KT Rolster.
And I want you guys to watch the spacing, whether it's on this live play or if you go back. There's never a clump. There's never been 3 people in Hemoplague range or anything else. You see the explosive cast used, but is going to walk away. Might as well be a zoning barrel.
Yep, ult's traded. Now KT going to realm warp their way out. More than safe. The Smeb was looking for a potential flank as well. But this is tutorial League of Legends. They're not going to start any fights. They're going to empowered recall back. 30 seconds on the clock. This is about what you do when you take the first Baron and you win the game. And KT looking to come back after they've bought a whole bunch of sweet stuff from the shop.
It's not a perfect game because of the trade they had on turrets earlier, but in every other way it might as well be Atlas, a Drake, a turret, no more for Jin Air. We were in awe of KT for the wrong reasons in game number 1. We're in awe of KT in game number 2. The macro here, again, the immaculate masterclass of macro that people joke about. This is a fantastic game from KT. I know a lot of people are looking for kills. Speaking of kills, OGN twists the knife a little bit and says, aha, this was the least kills so far this season at 5. Well, you know,
maybe this is the time for some tactical inting, because Jin Air do not want to break any records when it comes to losing with the least stuff happening. And a desperation team fight certainly is on the cards. Because Teddy, he's put together a whole bunch of sweet items, hasn't been able to use them once this game, and you bet your bottom dollar that guy is going to be real frustrated. Now, Nexus turret's under fire. Deft just free hitting wherever he feels like it. Shooting the closest target, Hula Hoop lands on absolutely no one. Shockwave does nothing. There's the flash forward from Mata trying to lock down the Vladimir. They do it before he can do anything, just in the charm duration from the quickness. That's going to spell the end of Nexus turrets number 1 and 2, and the Nexus will go down in the end. 2 kills so far this game as Deft flashes forward. Is going to be able to grab the 3rd, the 4th. Are we going to get 5 in here? I don't think so, as the lowest kill game